Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partners, My 11 Circle. I'm Gaurav Kapur, and today we have an international panel to show you that we have a big budget. We have a guest analyst from overseas, from way beyond. See, this is we can't travel anymore, we can't go anywhere anymore, but we can just connect with people. Because what matters is the connection of the hearts. We have Michael Vaughan joining us all the way from the UK. Hi, Michael. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I've just got a report. The county championship started this week, and Yorkshire are playing Glamorgan. They're into day 3, and they get to lunchtime today, and they were going out after lunch, but they couldn't go out after lunch because it snowed. The whole ground. If you go on social media and have a look at Yorkshire County Cricket Club's feed and Glamorgan's feed, the whole ground is just white, snowed off. No more play today. Probably no more play for the week. But there you go. That's what it's like in the UK. Sunshine one day, snow the next. And we're in April.
10th of April. If this is not enough evidence for people about climate change, I don't know what is. I don't know what they need to see after this. Do they just need to see well-mannered people in Vaughan Joy Bhattacharjya?
Well-mannered? That's difficult. That's really difficult. And I just want to apologize to you, Gaurav. I went and I took a vaccine today. So, yes, I'm over 45. Surprise.
No, you're not. Lies.
You'd never believe it. But yeah, it is. And I forgot to take a selfie.
Oh, then you didn't get it. Then you didn't get the vaccine.
No proof.
I messed it up.
No proof. In fact, the thing is that even the virus doesn't accept you've taken a vaccine unless you've taken a selfie. So yeah, you have a real problem there. Well, there are a few things that happened yesterday that you will believe, which is that Mumbai lost their first match. Michael, I was saying that the Mumbai fans would be very relieved because they almost won the match and they must have been thinking, no, don't win it. Right?
It's far too early in the tournament for Mumbai to be winning.
Yeah.
They don't even... I mean, if they win the first game, there's absolutely no chance of them winning the whole thing. So the slow start. I thought they actually played a lot better than they usually do in the first game. So I think that's really promising and a real concern for the rest of the teams in the tournament that Mumbai put in I would say a 75% performance. Usually on game 1 they put in around a 25% performance. So it's much better than previous years.
I think that's the one topic I think, Joy, we didn't hit on last night. We'll talk about it for just a second before we move to today's super interesting game as well, which is that I think Michael makes a really good point. A lot of things didn't go Mumbai's way, like, little chances, drop catches here, a Virat Kohli shot that lands in the middle of, a Bermuda Triangle, so to speak. There was a lot of things that didn't go their way. You're right, Michael. They looked like they were at 75%, yet they managed to take the game to the last ball. Yeah, Joy?
Absolutely. I think that's the thing, that they normally sleepwalk their first match. Absolutely sleepwalk their first match. And here they got intent. They got intent from Ishan Kishan. They got intent from Surya. And look, nobody in Mumbai is ever bothered about Rohit Sharma's form. Because they say, look, he's won 5 championships literally coasting in the IPL. Yeah. And if you look at his record, he's actually had bigger IPL years when he was not playing, when he was in the Deccan Chargers and he had to do everything himself. And that's the time he'd take a hat trick, he'd score runs, he'd do everything. Now he's in a situation where his team just does it for him. And so they're not worried about his form. 2-3 guys have done that. Marco Jansen, who's a big punt, goes and has a terrible first over, comes back and bowls a very, very decent spell. I mean, again, they'll be really happy with how Marco Jansen's bowled. That's a big tick for them. And so that means that, they've got a lot of their stuff in place. The only guy they'd be worried about, and remember, they are going to play in Chennai a lot, is Rahul Chahar. Chahar went for runs, and that's the one worry that have that, Leggy needs to get a few more runs.
One sec. That's a worry for us. It's not a worry for them. They're not worrying about that at all. Another guy who just never worries, well, 2 guys today who just don't seem to worry at all, but doesn't show on their face. They seem to be having fun. It's the master and his apprentice. It is Miyagi-san giving the wax-on, wax-off treatment to Rishabh Pant. We've got Chennai playing Delhi, and this match is happening in Mumbai because, as you know, there are no home games for anybody in this caravan-style 2021 tournament. And these guys are playing against each other, which is very interesting because Rishabh Pant, Michael, 23 years old, captaining for the first time, and MS Dhoni, who's been captaining for about 23 years.
Yeah, and Rishabh Pant's got, in my view, a better team to captain. I think Delhi, we saw last year by reaching the final, look a team on the move. Ricky Pant has done a great job. MS Dhoni has been the best T20 captain that I've ever seen. But he's captaining now an aged team. They are. We can say it is the dad's army. They are a veteran set of players, legends that they are. But I'd like to have seen a little bit more youth put into this.
They've got a few of their nephews who've come into the squad this time. A few of those.
They still look like they need a bit of an injection. They might need a few of Joy's jabs to get them going in this tournament. It's always a slight concern that you've got a couple of players that are in that age bracket to get the jabs. Still playing in the IPL. That's a concern, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how Rishabh Pant goes as a captain. He's young, he's fresh, he's dynamic. Over the last 6 months, he's been the star of world cricket, not just Indian cricket. I think he's the talk around the whole game about the way that he's played, the way that he's batted in Test cricket, the way that he stood up to Australia in the Test, the way that he's played in the one-day series, the way that he played against India in the Test series, England in the Test series. He just seems to have found his method, found his way. And any player that can reverse sweep and reverse lap Jimmy Anderson facing the second new ball in a Test match, this guy has got something about him. Captaincy is different. Obviously, he's going to have to learn the art of managing people, because that's, to me, what captaincy is all about. Strategically, that's very important, particularly in T20 cricket. Get your tactics right, get your fields right. But managing people is the most important aspect. And particularly in his team, managing the likes of Ravi Ashwin, Ajit Rihana, senior players.
And former captains.
Former captains. But if he's clever, he uses them well.
Yep.
He kind of makes sure he brings them into his inner circle, gathers their information, and then he makes his decision of which way he wants the team to go.
But Michael, he's done that before, and Joy will tell us that, which actually sinks in with our Ask Cricbuzz live question as well. I think the concern about Rishabh Pant and his captains, he's taking over from Shreyas Iyer, of course, so it's big shoes to fill. This obviously, I'm thinking that this means that he's likely to be retained in the mega auction, is what Tanmoy Chakrabarti is saying. But Joy, the main concern is, will he change his style of batting? Because he's been in fantastic form, as Michael just said. But you have a story from a few years ago.
No, absolutely. I mean, Rishabh Pant was the Delhi Ranji Trophy captain, was the Ranji team captain, the Delhi state team captain in 2017-2018. And they made him after he had a monstrous season, and then they made him captain. And remember, in that team, you had Gautam Gambhir, who's again another senior guy, somebody like an Ashwin or Rahane. And Gautam Gambhir said, you just play your game, I will support you. And Delhi goes on right up to the Ranji Trophy finals. They lose the Ranji Trophy finals out there. So that means the kind of maturity that he had, that leading a team and having somebody like Gautam, who's a very senior player under him. And, Gautam is a veteran captain of India, captain of KKR, captain of everything you can think of. And he's played very well with Gautam under him. Interestingly, what is even more revealing to me and interesting is what happens after that. Delhi is not renowned. Delhi state is not renowned for its, selectoral logic. So just after that tournament, this guy comes. He is basically a guy who's just taken you to a Ranji Trophy final, and they remove him as captain. They remove him as captain, and they put Pradeep Sangwan as captain. And Pradeep Sangwan is a fast bowler, really nice guy. Perhaps not the first person you think about when you think of captaincy material. What happens? The Mushtaq Ali tournament starts. Okay, which is a T20 tournament. Okay, Pradeep Sangwan is playing. Under him is Rishabh Pant. Rishabh Pant plays brilliantly. And Delhi win the Mushtaq Ali. So there are two parts to it. One is what he did as a captain, but one was even when he was removed as a captain, he said, okay, this is what I'm not in charge of this. I'm not in control of this. What I can do is play well and make my team win. And Delhi goes and wins the Mushtaq Ali. So it shows you not just what he does as a captain, but the kind of maturity he has, that when he was removed, definitely unfairly, because, this guy just reached a final for you. And though he was removed, the way he treated it and the way he went forward, that was fantastic.
Just one quick point, Michael. You were given Yorkshire captaincy at the same age, weren't you? Were 23 when you took over?
But only I captain Yorkshire against the universities. It's slightly less profile than captaining the Delhi team in a huge tournament like the IPL. This is a different world now. You're in a world where we're on a digital station talking about it. There'll be millions watching it around the world. If there was 150 people watching me captain Yorkshire against Oxford University back in the day. That was probably 50 too many. There was no one there.
Well, at least that's in common. There's going to be no one at the stadium here as well. Just a few billions on television.
Yeah, but in the time that I captained Yorkshire for the first time as a 23-year-old, there wasn't even cameras at the ground, so I could have done what I want. No one could see it. Whereas, Rishabh Pant has got the world's eyes on him. I think it's a risk. I'll be honest about that. I think it's a risk giving him the captaincy because he's playing so well. He's such a flamboyant player. He's such an impactful player anyway, and you won't want to take that joyful kind of fearless way that he plays out of his game. You wouldn't want him to start really almost thinking too much about the game. You just want Rishabh Pant to go out there and just play, enjoy playing the game, trying to whack it. He's played sensibly at times over the last few months, and that's what's impressed me as much as anything about his game is that he's played different styles of innings.
Yeah,
he's not just been the firecracker from ball one. He's played very cleverly. That first 50 in the Test match where he got his 100 was so smart in a tough circumstance. He's a smart cricketer, and I'm looking forward to seeing his style of captaincy, how he's going to go about his business. It'd be very interesting for him walking out to toss the coin with MS Dhoni because MS is obviously his hero. MS might be able to play a few games with him and just intimidate him somewhat. That's what I'd be trying to do if I was in MS. I'd try to take a little, or try to tell him how hard captaincy is and how stressful it is and how difficult it is. I'd be trying to put him under a little bit of pressure, but you couldn't get a better duo, could you, going at each other?
He's not going to do that. MS Dhoni is not going to do that. He's not going to. He likes playing the mind games without saying anything. And I don't know if he's going to do that. But the thing with Rishabh Pant is, yes, I think everybody's got this concern, just like Joy, Michael, Tanmoy, you asked that question. I think all of us have the same concern that I hope Rishabh Pant doesn't lose his style of batting because we want this 2021 Rishabh Pant, not the 2020 Rishabh Pant. There was no Rishabh Pant there, that Prithvi Shaw. We don't want those. We want the 2021 one, especially for all Delhi fans. And he is, Michael, I always say that he's a roller coaster. And you don't take a roller coaster if you've got to go from Piccadilly Circus to Baker Street, right? No, you don't.
It'd be quick.
It'd be very quick. So let's also talk about MS Dhoni. We keep saying, will this be his last IPL? We've been saying that for a while. But only one person knows the answer to that, is him. And what did Kasi Viswanath, who's the Chennai CEO, said, I don't think it's going to be his final year. This is my personal view, and I don't think we are looking at anybody right now. When asked about a succession plan. Can I share my succession plan with Michael? Please, my Chennai succession plan, even though I have not been contracted for it. No one's been consulting me. But Michael, I just want to know, I'm trying to build a lobby about this. I feel that if they do have a succession plan in place at some point in time, if you need a third person to go with Stephen Fleming and MS Dhoni in terms of temperament, leadership quality, and being underutilized by his franchise, Kane Williamson.
There you go, yeah. Not a bad shout. One thing for sure is that Chennai aren't doing their forward thinking if they haven't got a contingency plan.
They have it.
Because he may play another year, but he's not going to play another 5 years.
They're not going to. First of all, you never know with FS.
Well, let's see. They are not doing their jobs properly if they've not got half an idea of who they feel is the next leader of the Chennai Super Team.
They're so. I mean, they're such a secretive team. He's such a private guy himself. I'm sure they have a plan. They're definitely not telling anybody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are that kind. They are more loyal, and their idea would be, we will accept whatever MS Dhoni says. The day MS comes to us and says it's time for me to retire, we'll do it. So whatever, and he might have already said it in private, saying this is his last session. But outwardly, CSK is such a loyal franchise. It's so player oriented, and that's one of the reasons for its huge success and consistency over the years. Because today when you think of success, you say MI is really successful. It is. MI is definitely now the most successful team in this league. But in terms of consistency, nothing can match what Chennai has done over the years. Okay. And I think that's one of the things that you look at, and that's because it's a very player-oriented team.
I'll give you a name. So you've got
Joe Root? Are you going Joe Root?
Joe Root's not IPL.
Okay, no, who else then?
I'll go for an English player. I think it's been the closest to MS Dhoni over the last few years, and that's Josh Butler. That is the cricket I would go for if I was Chennai.
Yeah, but they're gonna retain him. But Rajasthan's not letting him go.
You never know.
Rajasthan
You
won't
never
let
know.
him go.
If Chennai come in with a captaincy bid and they want him, they could get him.
Interesting. Okay, so you say Joss and I say Kane. Let's see what happens. Before we move on and tell you what's happened in the toss, just one question. When you were with Kolkata, did you do some of this as well? What you just said, which is that a press asks you a question, you know the answer, but you go, no, we don't.
I've done much worse.
Yeah.
I've done much worse.
That's right.
You see, what I did, what I used to do was the one chance that the press early on in a season, the one thing that the press gets very wrong, I'd call them and I said, you've got this totally, utterly wrong because this is the truth. This is what it is. The next 5 times when they actually found a scandal that really happened, nobody had the courage to come and ask me because this time I turned around and said, yeah, go and print it. This is just like what you did last time. No, what you're saying. So I'd always go hard early and then make them, after that, they'd be very scared of printing it.
Hide in plain sight. Basically what Harshal Patel did yesterday, right? Gave away like 15 runs in his first over and then came back and took 5 wickets. That's exactly what they did. All right. So one thing has gone Rishabh Pant's way right up front, which is that he has won the toss and decided that they are more comfortable chasing, which I guess is no surprise. We're probably going to see that and definitely going to see that in the early part of the tournament, Michael. You don't know what's going to happen, how the surfaces are going to play. They're definitely going to want the opposition to come and set the target for them. Now, the one thing we were trying to guess yesterday is what would Chennai's team be? Harsha, Joy and me pulled our hair out after 5 minutes. Just completely gave up. We don't have to worry about it now. And Michael, we won't make you do that. We're just going to put the team ahead for you right here. So you've got Rituraj Gaikwad and Ambati Raidu perhaps at the top 5. Duplessis, Suresh Raina, MS Dhoni, Moeen Ali, Ravindra Jadeja, Sam Curran, Dwayne Bravo, Shardul and Deepak Chahar. Geez, that's interesting. Which means that he's only going with 2. Yeah, okay, so you're going with Shardul, Deepak, Sam Curran. Going to be quick. Dwayne Bravo, Jadeja, Moeen, spinners, maybe. Suresh. Interesting. Michael, your thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, it just looked like they've packed the batting. I mean, you look down that list of all those all-rounders in the middle. Suresh Raina, I don't think he'll bowl too much, but then you've got Moeen Ali, you've got Sam Curran, you've got Bravo. That's a powerhouse. You've got MS Dhoni in there as well. When you've got a batting lineup that's so deep like that, they have to go hard. They have to go so hard in the first 6 because you're allowing yourself to do so because you've got so much batting down the bottom end. That's the kind of message I'll be giving. Generally, in the past, Chennai have been quite circumspect in the power play. They'd like to just play and get themselves in. I believe when you've got that kind of depth in your batting lineup, you can go so hard at the top because you've only got 120 balls and you would back 2 or 3 of those guys to get in. And then those firecrackers in the middle, you expect one of them to have a cameo innings of some kind. Excited. They look weak in bowling. They look like they're just a little bit... just a bit short of high class bowling. They've got some decent bowlers, plenty of spinners.
Yeah, a lot of. They've got 9 spinners in their squad, right? There's no Krishnappa Gautam playing today, Joy. Almost 10 crores they spent on him, and he's not there in the team. There's a lot of batting. If you've got Dwayne Bravo, either Bravo or Curran at 9, Shardul Thakur at 10. Wait a second. Shardul Thakur at 10. This guy is a proper bat from what we've seen, right? This guy's a proper bat.
Forget Shardul Thakur. Deepak Chahar is a proper bat. He gets serious runs in List A and Ranji Trophy cricket. They bat till 11. This is perhaps the longest batting lineup that I have seen in this tournament. They bat to 11. They're legitimate. Even 11 is a legitimate bat. And exactly what Michael was saying. If with this lineup they don't go hard, it will be an absolute tragedy. The other thing I think is this lineup for us is just out there. They're going to float. So, somebody bats till 10, 11 overs. They might say, okay, let Moeen Ali go in at 3 and go and whack it. They're going to play around with it. I think they're going to play around with the middle. If they see the situation, Sam Curran might come in as a pinch hitter. I think the lineup that you're seeing will depend on how the wickets fall and how many overs the wickets fall.
But who are your openers?
I think they'll open with Rituraj and Ambati.
Yeah, not Faf?
I think Faf at 3. I think Faf is the one guy they'll say play around Faf. Everyone else plays around Faf. And the first 2 guys go hard and let's see what happens.
For Delhi, of course, there's no Nokia and Rabada available for this match because they were playing the international series and they've just come in. So they're still quarantining and they will be available for the next match. But I don't think there's too much of a problem because they've got Chris Vokes and Tom Curran who come in, I guess, and, taking those places. But there you go. Shikhar and Prithvi in roaring form at the top. Ajinkya at 3, the captain Rishabh at 4. Shevran Hetmeyer comes in, Marcus Stoinis. One Curran brother for Chennai, so one Curran brother for Delhi. There's Tom, who's playing his first game here. Ashwin at 8, Chris Vokes. They've got a very good batting lineup as well. And then Amit Mishra and Avesh Khan. Michael, that's a pretty solid batting lineup as well.
Yeah, it is. It's deep. You're looking at the Wankhede Stadium and it's favoured the seamers. So the spinners might have a tall order today. Chris Vokes hasn't played a game. He didn't play any games of England's tour of Sri Lanka. He was with Moeen Ali when Moeen was tested positive for COVID and he had to isolate, so he missed the test in Sri Lanka. Didn't play at all in any of the series in the Indian leg of the tour. So you're looking at players that are going to be rusty. Look at Jadeja back in for the Chennai Super Kings, not played cricket for a long period of time. So there's 2 or 3 players on each side that haven't played a great deal of cricket. But again, you're looking at 2 teams on paper, as at this stage they always do. 2 teams look very strong in the batting. Just a little bit of a concern about bowling two bowling attacks. I'd fancy as a batting unit to try and get hold of some of those bowlers.
Joy?
I was just saying 2 very interesting things. One is that Steve Smith is not there, which means he's making the statement that Steve Smith is not our original plans, because I know what's going to happen here. They're looking at it and they're saying that if he makes a place, then how does this shuffle around later? So I think Steve Smith is a backup and very clearly a backup. Unless things go wrong, Steve Smith doesn't come in. But the other thing which is really big, look at it this way. You have Ishant Sharma and Umesh Yadav. Avesh Khan is opening the bowling. That means there are no respecters. Ricky Ponting is saying, I'm no respecter of reputations. Fantastic. You're all great guys. But in the nets, the guy who's shown me what he can do is the guy who's going to play. So this is not a team that respects that, okay, I've got to play you because you have a reputation, or I've got to play you for any other reason. If you're the best bowler in the nets, it doesn't matter whether you're not, an India star. So Umesh and Ishant will sit out. Avesh will play. A very interesting statement there.
Yeah, it's a big call because that's something we hadn't considered when we were talking about the teams yesterday. We were thinking that Ishant Sharma will definitely play for Delhi. He'd be a shoo-in. And on the other side, we were thinking that Robin Uthappa will definitely play. And both of those players are not part of the setup. So, yes, it's fairly interesting. Yeah, and definitely Delhi will miss the bowling pedigree of a Rabada and a Nokia. And the fact that a lot of these players have not played for a while. But you all must consider all these things while you make your team, and don't get affected by anything the teams are doing. You are the captain of this when you make your My 11 Circle team, and you pick today's game after you go to my11circle.com and download the app. And this is how you pick your 11. And remember, just 1 rupee can take you to 1 crore every game. That's how you can do it. What we're going to help you with, we're going to help you with some smart picks. Well, they're just picks, but because we've done them, they are smart. So here they are, 3 of them. Shikhar Dhawan, MS Dhoni, Prithvi Shaw. Prithvi Shaw because he's been in roaring domestic form, and we're expecting him to carry it on. Opening batsman as well with Shikhar Dhawan. Shikhar got a little bit of form during the one-day series and has probably got that hunger to prove himself. Got to 200s 5 months ago when the previous edition of the tournament happened. So you're probably looking at him carrying that form forward. And we'll show you a few numbers as well because he does well against Chennai, Shikhar. He's got 777 runs. The average and the strike rate are both healthy. He's got 650s and 100, which is why we have him as a pick. Joy, there's also, when you get towards the twilight of your career, as you would say that Shikhar is. Shikhar's more towards the end than towards the beginning. You've got the young guns like Prithvi and Rishabh and all in the team. It probably just G's you up even more to go like, look, I've got to show them that I'm no old warhorse.
Yeah, absolutely. And, like Rishabh is like, again, a kid that Shikhar has literally seen in the Delhi dressing room sort of grow up and all. So he's going to have that attitude, but he's going to say, I'm not going to give up my place without a fight. And I think that's a really important thing. Shikhar is a fighter. He's a fighter and he's a really cool guy. He will take it and he'll say, can I have another 600-run season? Because if you look at the history of the IPL, nobody has hit more fours than Shikhar Dhawan. Shikhar Dhawan is the ultimate four hitter in IPL history. So I think he will go hard, and he's had a good season last year as well. I think Shikhar is the man for them. I mean, because Prithvi, remember, he's sort of feeling his way back. Is he in form? Is he not in form? Shikhar will do the early aggression. I'm just looking forward to his batting.
So basically what you're saying that when it comes to the list of boundary hitters in IPL, Shikhar is the one? Yes?
Good
Okay.
one. Well done.
It's going to come. It's going to probably come in every match that Delhi plays. That's going to be one of those. I'll find them. I will find them. I will. MS Dhoni, let's talk about him. Jeez, man, really. Well, I love talking about him. But we would want 2021 to be better. And if there's one guy who has the resolve, Michael, if there's one guy you bet on when it comes to making a comeback, to say that this is not me, I will put that really mediocre season behind me. You'd want to back this guy, right? 10 times out of 10?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a superstar. But at his age and at his stage of his career, he'll want the season. He'll want to be scoring runs. He'll want to be, really helping the team win games. He'll want to do what he did 5 or 6 years ago, where he used to come out and smash sixes for fun, the helicopter shot, you name it, he could deliver it. Because when you get to a stage where you're coming towards an end, and it might be this year, it might be the next year, the one thing that keeps you going and wanting you to play more is performance. What kind of gets you starting to think that it may be the time to call it quit is when you're not performing for the team. So MS Dhoni as a leader, absolutely, he's incredible, tactically fantastic, but you want to perform with the bat. He'll want to be performing with the bat. His glove work was fine. I didn't see any drop in his kind of standards behind the stumps with his glove work, but he'll want to contribute with the bat. So, never ever rule out MS Dhoni. That's all I'll ever say. I mean, even however old he is, I don't know what age is he now. 30 late? What is he? Tell me.
39, I think.
39.
31. He's going to be 40 this year.
40. Well, there's players that are playing beyond 40. In the game. Jimmy Anderson's coming up to that number, getting better and better. These players in this modern era seem to be able to play longer and longer because of the way that they've looked after their bodies, their minds. So I wouldn't rule it out, but I also wouldn't rule out what he did last year, because it sometimes happens when you get to the latter stages of your career. It's very, very difficult to keep the standards as high as what it was when you're a little bit of a fledgling youngster.
It's like I like to say, sometimes the mind is writing checks that the body cannot cash. It happens to the best of us, love. But on the other hand, we have a youngster, Prithvi Shaw. Let's see his numbers as well. And this is what he did in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. 8 matches, 827 runs. That average, that strike rate, he got a double 100 in there as well. This has all happened in the last few months. So, and he also, I'm hoping, will be hungry enough to put that 2020 season behind him. Remember, Joy, he got dropped for the final, didn't he? It was Marcus Stoinis. I mean, he got dropped for a few games before that. And I think that was also the time that Delhi kind of got derailed towards the end, because they were looking like such a formidable unit. And Marcus Stoinis had to come and open, and there were just all sorts of things happening at that point in time. So with Shreyas missing, they really need both Prithvi and Rishabh to not have that 2020 season.
Absolutely, not just 2020 season. 2021 Australia plays a test match. Everyone says this guy's out of form. He shouldn't be playing test. And he gets a chance to go out there, gets out cheaply, is dropped. Shubman Gill does very well. So all that happens. But what happens after that is again more interesting. It's always good to see what happens to players when they're down. He goes, Greg Chappell gives him some advice. He spends time with Praveen Amre. And then he comes back and has this season where he absolutely bosses it. So, last year, Devdutt Padikkal had this, breakout Vijay Hazare season where he scored 750 odd runs, and everyone thought, man, this will not happen in the next 10 years, somebody scoring that many runs. And Prithvi goes and smashes it by about 90 odd runs, 827 runs. And the kind of innings he played, all of them were bossing innings, Up front, he would bounce, he would just finish off the games. I mean, literally, Bombay, he would just finish games for Bombay. The kind of form that he showed was frightening if the other teams are having a look at it. So that's, again, a great thing. Like Rishabh, coming back from adversity is always great. If his form was like this throughout, it's not a different matter altogether. The fact that he came back from Australia and did that is what's important for him.
Excellent. So those are my 11 Circle smart picks. Listen to us. I'm telling you, listen to us. You're sometimes with a pretty face, you don't listen to the wisdom, but there's a lot of wisdom in those. Before we wrap up the conversation about Prithvi Shaw, I just want to ask Michael one last question. Who are you a bigger fan of, Prithvi Shaw or George Bernard Shaw?
I'm a big fan of Prithvi.
Okay, great.
Great.
I was not going to make you recite any George Bernard Shaw. Don't worry.
No, I'm a big
but
fan.
I think Joy has one of those books behind him. Yes,
Yeah.
Joy will.
Oh, he'll have it. Yeah, he'll certainly will do. But it's a big IPL for Prithvi Shaw because what I like to see is when young players have struggled at international level is then they go back into domestic cricket wherever they're playing in the world and they have to dominate because you are good enough to play international cricket, and that's exactly what Prithvi Shaw has done. He's gone and dominated domestic. Now can he take that belief and confidence and that mindset into the IPL? The standard's a little bit higher, the pressure's that little bit more, playing against better, more established international bowlers rather than what you face in your domestic competition. But he can clearly play. You know, to get those kind of numbers, I don't care who you're batting against. If you're getting those kind of numbers and you're dominating, you can seriously play. There's something in that mind of his that just needs to tell himself how good he is. You know, I think it's sometimes when you see these youngsters come out of the traps and they're so good so quickly, you're all thinking, oh, wait a minute, the next Sachin or the next Virat. And then they have these dips. It's how you react from those dips. Yeah. So I do think this IPL is a big IPL for him because, you know, if he can continue that domestic form, bring it into the IPL, he will get back into the Indian setup if he has a great IPL. But, you know, you always feel with him that there's something in that mind that doesn't quite give himself the belief and the confidence that you have to do yourself. It can't be that Ricky Ponting tells him how great he is. It can't be that the skipper comes up to him and tells him how great he is. He's got to tell himself that he's a good player. And if he can do that, he can jump on the energy of all those domestic runs, he could be in for a really good IPL season.
Michael, there was something very interesting that Ricky Ponting said. He said that when Prithvi Shaw is not batting well, or when he didn't have that, when he was having a dismal tournament, he wouldn't even go into the nets and bat, right? So I think people just react differently. I'm sure when you've captained, you've seen players that when they hit a slump, they're going to spend 6 hours in the nets and try to dig themselves out like a 4-wheel drive, right? And there's some who'll say that, well, I'm just not going to touch the bat. I'm just going to focus on my mind. Do you remember any instances like that?
Yeah, I mean, there's two schools of thought. I don't think you can get out of form without hitting balls. I don't think it's possible to not hit anything and then come back into form. I still think you need to practice something and hit a few balls, but it's just about the intensity of the way that you practice. So I'd rather see a player practice for 20 minutes of high intensity, of game kind of style, match situation, kind of with the ball flying around your head, the pace, rather than hit balls for 6 hours and you're kind of just hitting ball's sake. I think it's so important to have a precise practice when you're a young player. But also, you can't underestimate the amount of what you can do away from the practice ground, i.e. looking at yourself on video, playing well, trying to get your feel-good factors going again by the visuals, just kind of working out in your mind how you play well and what you do when you're playing well. I always say to any young player, when you play well, whether it's in the nets or in a game situation, write down what you were thinking. So have a little black book. If you think back to the 80s, 90s, little black books were probably for girls that you would kind of meet and you get all the names and numbers and you go, oh, that's my little contact book. I call the little black book of cricket. It's like your computer. You're storing all your information. And it's so important for players that when they play really well and they've technically played well, they've thought really well, write down exactly what you were doing on that given day. So when you do have a period where it doesn't quite go so well, you've got your little black book and you're looking at it and you go, oh yeah, I remember that. Actually, I was thinking X, Y, and Z, and that's why I played so well. I'll go back to doing that. I do think it's very important that players write things down so it's jotted in the memory bank for what I call a rainy day. When the rain comes, you can read and you can read about some good stuff that you used to do.
Joy, have you seen that in your time, in your experience? Have you seen any player making notes like that?
A lot of players don't make notes, but a lot of guys, what they do is, for example, Balaji is one of them. Brett Lees also used to do that, is to say, get me my best deliveries, my successes that I have. He said, put them on a tape, put them all together on video and send them to me. So they'd look at what they did right. They'd look at a lot of what they did right and try and emulate and says, when I was bowling well, what was I doing? And they'd look at their run-up. And the other interesting thing is a lot of batsmen, what people Ponting was saying about Prithvi, a lot of Indian batsmen, and especially Indian batsmen, maybe it's because they don't want to admit weakness outside because India is such a hyper-competitive place in terms of being a batsman. They'll say, we don't want to go to the nets. Because the big fear is that if you go to the nets and suppose you're in that fringes the team and you're not really timing the ball, your chances of getting dropped are even more. The coach will look at it and say, he's not really looking good. So a lot of these guys would say, you know what, I don't want to bat in the nets, I just want to do throwdowns. So they do throwdowns, they just knock, they do throwdowns, they'll feel better in their heads. And I think it's a uniquely Indian problem because remember, batting in India, to be a batsman for India is probably the most competitive job on the planet in terms of the number of slots available.
So the most lucrative.
They don't want to show weakness outside. I've seen a lot of this.
Yeah, it's most competitive. That's why it's one of the most lucrative as well, I guess. You're going to use just all the tricks that you have. All right, before we go, one quick question for you because both Rabada and Nokia are not there. Who do you think's opening the bowling for Delhi? Who gets the new ball? Do you throw Ashwin in with one?
Yeah.
Perhaps? He loves it.
Yeah, potentially Ashwin. Chris Woakes is very good. Chris Woakes has made his name for England in T20 cricket, opening the ball and whacking the pitch hard, getting a little bit of shape. If there's any swing, it generally happens in the first over of Ricky Ponting's teams. Wherever he's been, he generally likes to open with seam, because he believes that if it's going to swing in the first over. So it wouldn't surprise me if it's Chris Woakes.
I have a few things that I want to talk to you about. One, of course, is the joy factor question that we have. We have a confession to make about last night. I did run a forensic audit, and Chitran, who won the prize last night, it was one fair and square, did give the correct answer. I just want to tell everyone that that was not me being suspicious. It was just me sussing the situation, having a bit of doubt and having it cleared out for everybody. Just want to tell you that it might just happen today as well. I might just be running a random forensic audit. So I just want everyone to be assured that due process will be followed in the picking of the winner. But the winner will only come after you answer this question. And the question will only come after I stop talking. Please, sir.
Okay, here's a question. The two openers in a 50-over match who helped their team win by over 150 runs, because that doesn't happen too often in a 50-over match, got picked in an auction in India the same day. So two guys opening, their team wins by 150 runs, both of them get picked in the auction, name both and the teams they joined. I mean, there are four answers, but if you know one, all the others will come tumbling out. So they're playing on the day of an auction and their team wins by 150 runs in a 50-over match.
I know this.
You do.
Okay.
Do you, Michael?
No, not at all.
Did they get picked by the same team? No.
No.
It's got to be your boys. It's got to be Roy and Bairstow. It's got to be.
When is the last time an international match has been decided by a 150-run margin? It's a big one.
Well, if anybody could win, it'd be England, right? They've been scoring like 5, 6, 7, 800 runs, right? Of late in one day.
That as well.
I'm just kind of rolling the dice here. Maybe I'm trying to confuse people. This is hashtag Cricbuzz Live and hashtag Joy Factor. Send us your answers on Twitter like you usually do. And the winner will be given a prize, which is our appreciation and respect, which is better than anything materially could ever been. But we will be doing a forensic audit, as I said very clearly. I want to tell you, I know you guys love us. I want to give you more reasons to love Cricbuzz, and that is Cricbuzz Plus. That's right. What do you get? Well, you get everything, just a little bit more. There's premium articles. There's some amazing video content. So if you just want an ad-free experience, which is top drawer and absolutely premium, that's where you got to go. Just more reasons to love. I've installed it. I've subscribed. So I think you should do that as well. And there's one very juicy piece of Rahul Dravid content that's already there. So sign up to that right now. Score predictions, gentlemen, before we go away. What's the guess? Who's going to win? Not who's going to win, as in who's going to win amongst the three of us when we do our score guessing. Let's see. Mumbai, Chennai batting first, 11 batsmen, 182 is my guess.
You've gone with 182 again? You went yesterday as well.
No, yesterday Harsha was 182 and I was 191.
You were forced to go up. You had to go to 190.
Yeah, but you won yesterday. You won yesterday, right?
No, I got close, but not close enough.
Oh, yeah, that's because that stupid last over that they had where they scored only one run. Yeah. So what's
Okay.
yours?
I'm low balling again. 159.
159.
I'm going to go 174.
That's the safest. 159, 174, 182. Who's it going to be? Well, we're, of course, going to find out at the end of 20 overs, but we will be here for a little update at the end of 10 overs with Cricbuzz Combox. So do join us for that. Right now, I'm going to say thank you to Joy Bhattacharjya and Michael Vaughan. Big thank you to all of you for joining us. We're going to see you in about 45 minutes. I'm Gaurav Kapur. You were watching Cricbuzz Live in association with our fantasy partner, My 11 Circle.